It's finally done. 84 hours. Yes. Hello and welcome to another review here on my channel. It was a long time ago I did one of these. It is for several reasons, but one of the main ones are going to be our review for today, Persona 5. Yes indeed. I finally finished Persona 5 and it was a lot of things. Yeah, it was a long game. What more can I say? Persona 5 were developed by P Studio and published by Atlus in Asia and the United States. It was in Europe and the PAL region. It was published by Deep Silver. Originally, Persona 5 were to be released in 2014 only on PlayStation 3. They later announced that they were going to delay it in order to essentially tweak it, make it better, run better, etc. And so that I also could release it on PlayStation 4. This is the console I played this game on. They finally released the game in 2016, September 2016 in Japan, and in April 2017 in the West, essentially. What is Persona 5? Well, the genre I would say is a JRPG with visual novel and turn-based gameplay. Kind of gameplay, essentially. And dungeon exploring, etc, etc. It is a little bit of everything, essentially. Yeah. But let's just jump right into it, essentially, right now. You're essentially playing a character that you name by yourself that is a teenager of 16. It is set in the undisclosed year into the 2000s, essentially. But what I read, it essentially is 2016, but I don't really know. It does say 2000XX, essentially, for the remainder of the game. As I said, you play a character, the main character that you essentially name yourself, but have the code name Joker throughout the game in the palaces. You will meet different characters that are your confidants, essentially, that you will get help from in order to find the treasure in the palaces. And what does this treasure essentially stand for in the palaces, and etc, etc? Well, the palaces are essentially created by the deepest desires of the host, essentially. And the treasure, if you steal it, this palace will essentially be destroyed. It is essentially the source of the biggest desire or of the palace. And you will, your main character and his newly found friend, you can call him, or teammate, Yuri, will essentially stumble upon the first palace, which is a castle, which is the palace of a teacher at the school. And they will figure out more and more about it, and etc. And then they decide to essentially steal the treasure in order to destroy the palace and make him confess for his crimes that he has done. I will not tell anything about the crimes because it is have a lot to do with the storyline, essentially. But overall, you will also find different confidants, as I said. Ryuji are the first one, so you meet Morgana, which essentially are the first character that will give you information about this metaverse, they call it, or the palaces and etc, etc, the gameplay and what the shadows and all of these different enemies are. You will also have Anne in your team, which is another confidant that is which also goes to the school that you are going to, which is in Shibuya, or what are they called? Shui Academy is essentially the school they go into. There are also a lot of different confidants, but I will not spoil that much about them. Yui, Morgana and Anne are the three first ones we will essentially meet and get. Later on we will find different characters depending on the storyline and depending on the palaces that will join you. And this group, they essentially go by the name of the Phantom Thieves, but during the game you will essentially also have the option to name them a different thing. I went with the Allies because why not? And when you're going through the game you will see a lot of different turning points. There are a lot of storyline going through this game. It is a lot of storyline because there are a lot of text and etc, etc. But essentially everything comes down to the main plot, which essentially your main character are on a prohibition, whatever it's called, because he was falsely accused by a what can you call it, a bad politician or whatever you want to call it. Well, just let's call it a bad politician, but essentially accused him for abusing him, and because your character essentially wanted to save a woman against this politician, but because she was afraid, she went through with it, essentially blaming your character for essentially abusing the politician, etc, etc. That is one of the main storylines that will have a red thread throughout the entire game. And you will see why when you play through the game essentially. It's a big red line that is essentially going through the entire game and essentially put everything together in the end, which I think was really clever. But after you find all the confidence, etc, etc, and figure out different things, you will essentially come to the end, which you will figure out who the true culprit is, which I haven't mentioned before, but this true culprit, which essentially are the one that are going through with the mental shutdowns that are happening in Japan at the moment. A lot of different people are getting the mental shutdown, which essentially makes it real life a little bit weird, essentially, if you want to call it that. Bad things happened, such as a train derailing in the metro, and a metro line essentially derailed because a mental shutdown of the driver, etc, etc. Different things like that have happening, and you will find out the culprit behind all of this, and you will also find out who the main final boss are going to be, etc, etc. And yeah, the storyline are really great and really interesting in my opinion. It is a great way to tell storylines when you have to read through everything, because you get everything into your head. They don't run through everything at once that a lot of games do. Of course, it can be a little bit tedious when it comes to reading everything, but at the same time you will get a lot of story, which I really love, and you also feel the connection between characters when they talk to them, and etc when they talk to you, and you also feel the emotions that go through every character more with this way. Of course, we'll also get storytelling via animation and animated cutscenes. You will also get through another cutscene that are in engine, so you will get storylines that are told to you, but you will also get that you have to read and really feel through the characters, essentially. And I really love that about this game. As said before, this is a turn-based game, essentially, with visual novel style reading. I just said that as a visual novel, I have basically not played a lot of visual novels, but a lot of the gameplay are essentially you pressing X to read the next text line. And you also make decisions this way, and a lot of decisions you make are crucial to the entire game, because the gameplay are basically surrounding you managing time. You need to manage time greatly, or in a great way, in order to fully enjoy everything and essentially 100% the game. And I didn't 100% the game because I didn't manage my time correctly. But essentially everything are on a time scale. You start somewhere in April and you go around until Christmas essentially. And everything, as I said, are surrounding time, so every palace have a time limit, in how many days you will have to finish it in, and if you don't succeed, you will get a bad ending. But essentially the gameplay, as I said, are turn-based in the palaces, where essentially you have the sound. When it is your turn, you choose from different categories, just as using your persona, which essentially are, what can I call it, your soul, your fully powered soul, essentially I would call it, or a shadow that lives inside you, which you have a mask representing. The thing I didn't mention is that Joker can use different personas. The other characters can only use their one and only persona, but Joker can choose between different ones, which makes the gameplay a little bit more interesting when you decide which personas I should use and which one I will have during the battle. And you can do a lot of strategic decisions by choosing which type of persona you're going to use during each battle. You will also have the option to just attack with your weapon, which is different from each confidant or teammate you have. Joker, essentially the main character, essentially have a dagger that you have. Morgana have a big katana, I think it was. And Ruji essentially have a big pipe or mace, essentially. And it is different for each and every one of the team characters, essentially. You also have a gun, which in the game, in the real world, are essentially a modded gun, and in the palaces it is a real gun because they think it is a real one. One other thing that is one of the main things about the gameplay is that you should switch between the real world and the metaverse, essentially. In the real world you have no powers, and you just do your daily routines such as school, daytime work, friendship, love stuff, and etc. And in the metaverse you essentially just fight characters, fight the enemy, trying to go through the palace as fast as you can in order to meet your time limit. And you also have another big palace that is for all of the people in the world, which essentially are mementos, which is essentially where you will train up your characters. As I said, managing your time is one of the big main reasons here, and one of the other things that is a big thing in this game is how you decide to essentially answer a lot of the big story arcs, essentially, or the talking between the characters. The way you essentially response gives you another type of story, essentially. So it has some replayability in that scenario when it comes to gameplay. Overall, I would say the gameplay are actually really great, even though it can be a little bit slow when it comes to actually pressing X to continue the storyline sometimes. I can understand why, and I appreciate it for what it is, essentially. And yeah, really great when it comes to turn-based. I really like it. Haven't done that much before. The only one game I have done that is probably Pokemon and some strategic games, essentially.